some scathing recordings in its order saying that there are as many as 10 other criminal cases pending against Rahul Gandhi, and such a punishment is needed for the purity of politics. The Congress party says this is the ultimate evidence of vendetta politics practiced by the BJP. The question is, who is playing victim and who is playing victor?
On the road to the 2024 elections, the Congress party has suffered another jolt. The Gujarat High Court refused to stay Rahul Gandhi's conviction in the Modi surname defamation case. The case pertains to Rahul Gandhi's remarks in 2019 at a rally in Karnataka's Kolar ahead of the Lok Sabha elections.
नीरव मोदी, ललित मोदी, नरेंद्र मोदी, इन सबके नाम मोदी 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 कैसे? ये सब चोरों के नाम मोदी 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 मोदी.
In his complaint which led to Rahul Gandhi's conviction, BJP MLA Purnesh Modi alleged that the Congress leader defamed the entire Modi community.
उस फैसले को हम नामदार हाईकोर्ट के फैसले को स्वीकार करते हैं. उनको अभी सोचना चाहिए कि ऐसे इतिहास न रचे. हिंदुस्तान में सद्भावना से पेश आए, उनको सोचना है.
The BJP welcomed the verdict, saying Rahul Gandhi has to face the consequences.
आप जो करेंगे वो आपको भुगतना पड़ेगा. आप किसी पर झूठा आरोप लगाकर उसकी छवि को बिगाड़ देंगे. न कोई तथ्य है, न कोई प्रमाण है, न कोई डॉक्यूमेंट है, न कोई एविडेंस है.
Such foolish comments by a national leader, so-called national leader, irresponsible comments, have now resulted in the people of Wayanad not getting an opportunity to raise their issues in the parliament.
किसी को भी बोलने की आज़ादी, गाली की आज़ादी नहीं हो सकती. फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन का मतलब ये नहीं है कि फ्रीडम ऑफ अब्यूज.
The Gujarat High Court observed that Rahul Gandhi was seeking a stay on non-existent grounds, adding that as many as 10 cases are pending against the Congress leader. The court observed that the conviction was necessary for purity in politics, calling it just, proper and legal. Congress workers hit the streets after the Gujarat High Court's ruling, with party leaders accusing the BJP of conspiring to keep Rahul Gandhi out of parliament.
So the BJP leaders are not able to tolerate. They want to block him from the parliament. They want him to unnecessarily create for his speech, which is nowhere heard.
तो सत्य को ये लोग ने परेशान कर सकता है, पराजित नहीं कर सकता है. ये लड़ाई हमने आगे और आगे लेके जाएंगे.
The Congress party will continue the legal fight, now preparing to approach the Supreme Court.
हम पूरी कानून न्याय व्यवस्था में पूरी आस्था रखते हैं और उच्चतम न्यायालय में पूरी आस्था रखते हैं.
With no legal relief, Rahul Gandhi can't contest elections for the next 8 years. But as the Congress party continues to ring-fence its former party chief, can it claim the vendetta card after another setback from the court?
All right, joining us, full panel this evening here on Brass Tacks. Nalin Kohli is national spokesperson of the BJP. Salman Soz, national spokesperson of the Congress party. Swapnil Kothari, lawyer, will be joining us. And so will Abhishek Manu Singhvi, senior lawyer and, of course, spokesperson of the Congress party. But let me start with Nalin Kohli first. Nalin, so the Congress's charge is that all of this smacks of vendetta. After all, from the soundbite of the rally that Mr. Gandhi addressed in 2019 in Kolar in Karnataka, it was clear that he was talking about Narendra Modi being a chore and not Purnesh Modi. So Purnesh Modi, or any other Modi for that matter, other than the ones that he named, have no locus standi in this case.
As a practicing lawyer, I would feel that that's a rather democratic argument being put forth by the Congress party. The fact of the matter is that Mr. Gandhi chose to make a statement that was distasteful. He abused the community, to put it bluntly. Why are people with a Modi surname all thieves? How would I react if the same thing was to me? Why are all Kohlis thieves? Or if he said all Jacobs are thieves? You would react equally violently in terms of saying, what is this? How are you dragging us into your politics? Somebody felt offended enough to go and file a case. It went to a court. Mr. Gandhi was well represented by a lawyer. A conviction happens. And then he says that, why am I being convicted in 2 years? So this is also, I must say, as a lawyer, for me, very surprising. Does a judge call the accused and say, how much would you like to be sentenced?
Yeah.
It's up to the judge to sentence a person. Whatever. In a murder case, somebody may get life imprisonment, somebody may get a death sentence. So this is for a judge to decide based on a fact of fact. Every day in a court of law, somebody wins, somebody loses. Some sentences sounds more, some sentence sounds less. You have a problem, you appeal it. You have every right to appeal it.
Okay.
And Congress leaders, after 3 appeals, which is in effect, they go to the Sessions Court, now the High Court, are raising allegations about the High Court. We won't get any justice in Gujarat. What is Gujarat? Is Gujarat something that hates the Congress? Politically, they do badly because the people are not convinced with their politics. But how do you run down a constitutional court, which is the High Court of Gujarat?
Okay.
Now, assume that the Supreme Court rejects their appeal. Would they say the Supreme Court is biased? And let me take the other converse. Suppose the Supreme Court stays the conviction and they get relief. So would they tomorrow be entitled to say that a constitutional court is biased and no one should have faith in the Gujarat High Court?
So let me ask Salman Soz. Let me ask.
Defending Mr. Gandhi is crossing every minute.
Got it, Nalin. Salman Soz, you know, there's some very, very scathing recordings that have been included as part of the judgment. The judge in the Gujarat High Court saying that this punishment meted out to Mr. Gandhi is needed to have purity in politics. In fact, the applicant, that is Rahul Gandhi, is trying to seek the stay of his conviction on absolutely non-existent grounds. It is a well-settled principle of law that stay of conviction is not a rule, but an exception that is resorted to in rare cases. So essentially, what this judge is saying is that Mr. Gandhi thinks his is an exceptional case and therefore he wants relief. But the judge is saying that punishment is the norm and not the exception. So Mr. Gandhi should face the punishment for whatever utterances he made, just like any other normal individual who's been convicted has to face.
First of all, Rahul Gandhi ji is ready to face anything that the RSS and the BJP throw at him. He's not afraid of them, nor are we in the Congress party. Let me just tell you, Zaka, and to the viewers and other panelists here, that the entire Congress party, the vast majority of India's opposition, and hundreds of millions of Indians, regular Indians, are standing with Rahul Gandhi ji. We are going to take this fight to the BJP, the RSS. We are not going to back down. As far as the Honorable High Court, this decision is concerned, first of all, let me just say that given what this regime has done to the institutions, to India's institutions, the decimation of Indian institutions, this is disappointing, but it is not an unsurprising verdict.
Okay.
But let me just address the High Court's observations, which
please.
are very interesting, because I don't think the contentions and the arguments that Rahul Gandhi ji's team has made, I don't believe those have been taken into consideration. But let's just listen to what the judge had to say.
Yeah.
The judge talked about false statements being made to affect the outcome of an election of a BJP candidate. Now, let me ask all of the people who are watching us, was 15 lakhs in each bank account? Was that a true statement? Was 2 crore jobs a year? Was that a true statement? Was 8 to 10% economic growth?
Who was that defaming, Salman?
No,
who was that defaming?
Let me finish. Please give me an opportunity. Was that, because I want to remind people about elections and how they're conducted. 8 to 10% economic growth per year. Was that a true statement? Was doubling of farmer incomes? Was that a true statement? Was demonetization and end of black money? Was that a true statement? Was Lal Aankh to China? Was that a true statement?
No. One sec. Wait, no. These are political points. You can make these political points. I don't have a problem.
No, it's not political.
The only limited contention is that none of these cases that you enlisted defamed anybody. So if anybody took offense to any of the cases that you mentioned, those people or persons are well within their right to go ahead and file a defamation case.
Prime Minister Modi and our BJP leaders every day talk about this person is corrupt, that person is corrupt, without a shred of evidence being presented. They talk about 2G scam and Colgate and all this stuff without any conviction in all these years that they've been in power.
Okay.
So I would just submit that We are disappointed. We are not surprised. At the same time, we are going to go to the Supreme Court. And by the way, this is still at the interim stage. We were seeking interim relief. We will approach the Supreme Court. And by the way, people are watching. The people of this country are watching. They're watching how BJP is committing one self-goal after another. And I think ultimately the court of Janta, the Janta court.
Let's leave that to the People's Court to decide. But I want to bring in Swapnil Kothari and I want to read more paragraphs from the judgment, because the judge has gone into every detail of this case, and he has said that it's a well-settled principle of law that stay of conviction is not a rule but an exception. Disqualification is not limited just to MPs or MLAs. Moreover, and this is the interesting part, moreover, as many as 10 criminal cases are pending against the applicant. The applicant in this case happens to be Rahul Gandhi. It's now the need of the hour to have purity in politics. Representatives of people should be man enough and with clear antecedents. Now, clearly what the court is saying is that they have looked at the other antecedents of Rahul Gandhi. There are as many as 10 criminal cases, and that's why they feel that there is no grounds made out for stay of conviction in this defamation case. How would you see this, Swapnil?
Zaka, the ruling is very clear. The observations are very paramount there, and they point to the fact that because 10 other cases are pending, this person in question is definitely transgressing the law at possible juncture wherever he possibly feels that he needs to, or he possibly doesn't realize that he's transgressing the law. That's one. Second aspect is that if this was a case, the first case, totally out of the blue, for the first time, maybe the court would have possibly taken a different view on this because this is the first case against the person. But the fact that there are 10 cases pending, and to make an outright statement that all Modis that which you put out, which you played earlier before you started the debate, is something which definitely is defamatory. There is no question about it. Falls within the parameters of Section 499, 500 of IPC, point blank. There is no question about it if you bring down the image of the person. Likewise, if there are any BJP people who are making these kind of comments, the Congress people or AAP people or whatever the other parties are, they are free to approach the courts of law.
What would you say to the justification or the argument from the Congress and the other opposition that Mr. Rahul Gandhi was not saying this in the context of all Modis? He named 3 Modis, and clearly he was saying this in the context of Narendra Modi, that kya sare Modi chor hote hain. How can any person sitting anywhere in the world who has nothing to do with politics, Congress, BJP, feel so aggrieved that he or she decides to sue Rahul Gandhi for these comments?
Well, the person who sued in question was, having a surname Modi. Let me tell you something. If somebody were to make a statement that all Kotaris are, crooks or thieves or something of that sort, I would take a complete offense at that. And possibly even I would go and file a PIL in the court of law. And, in question, if there was a specific statement, and let me tell you, Zaka, for the benefit of your viewers, what the court is trying to say is that we are not here to encourage brinkmanship. We are here to encourage statesmanship. So people who are in political positions, people who are in positions of iconic, say like Bollywood people or anything of that sort, or who are in famous positions, they need to be more circumspect before they make statements of any sort, because those statements are relied upon and looked at. And it applies both ways. It just doesn't apply to Congress, it applies to BJP as well.
That argument can be flipped around. That argument can be flipped around and asked, is it the case that the BJP should be taking the larger view here, the 30,000 feet view here, and by letting some things be, because by disqualifying Mr. Gandhi as a member of parliament, and now 2 courts, first the Sessions Court and now the High Court, sort of rejecting his demand or his ask for a stay on conviction, the easiest argument to make is that, look, all of this is happening at the behest of the BJP, that this is plain and simple upfront vendetta politics.
So, was there a BJP member who wrote the judgment in the trial court, the session court, and the Honorable High Court of Gujarat? Absolutely not. And when the Congress spokesperson says decimation of institutions, and we are not surprised, it's a direct assault on the constitutional court, which is the Honorable Gujarat High Court. It's a direct assault. I have no doubts about it. And it is this mindset that's dangerous. You like a judgment, the court is fair, the judge is fair. You don't like a judgment, then this is the institution being messed up with. It can't be like that. Every day, Swapnil's a fellow colleague lawyer. We go into court. This is Singhvi goes to court every day, Dr. Singhvi. You win a case, you lose a case. It's a daily thing. A judgment will be in favor of someone and against someone at the same time.
True.
It's a routine process. It's about you going out there and taking care of your legal requirements. Now let's look at Mr. Rahul Gandhi. He comes up with an obnoxious statement. Why do people with the surname Modi, why are they all thieves? He has an opportunity to apologize, he doesn't.
Yeah.
The court gives him that opportunity to apologize, he doesn't. After he's convicted, he said, "Ye satya ki ladai hai." What is this satya ki ladai? What kind of truth is this?
No,
that all Modis are thieves is his fight?
So
is that relevant?
Can I ask
I mean, every
Salman,
point that Mr. Soos has raised in this debate is basically to run away from the core issue.
So can I
Mr.
ask
Rahul
Salman
Gandhi was more
Soos? Can I ask
controlled with his
Salman
words,
Soos?
he wouldn't be in this problem.
In these last 5 or 6 years, there have been multiple defamation cases that have been filed against Mr. Gandhi. In some of them, he has apologized and they've settled it even before the matter went into trial. So the question that's being asked is, in this case, if Mr. Gandhi feels so passionately that he didn't refer to all Modis and that the petitioner in this case, Purnesh Modi, has nothing to do with what Rahul Gandhi was saying in that rally in Kolar, then why doesn't he do the reaching out? Isn't that a fair question to ask?
Well, first, Zaka, in this case, Rahul ji is talking about the one Modi that we already know. We all know who it is. And the reason he's talking about, the context is basically that this government has let some of the most egregious criminals to escape this country. Okay? And this government has promoted rampant cronyism in this country. They're basically taking away the rights of the 99% of this country's population. So
how? In what way? If I may, please. In what way?
Well, by basically, I mean, all you have to do is when the Prime Minister, for example, this is just an example. The Prime Minister went to the US, gave an interview to the Wall Street Journal. The same Wall Street Journal wrote a piece on Mr. Modi's economic policy of giving 6 companies, basically in India, basically using 6 companies, big mega companies, to develop India. That's the Wall Street Journal, the same place where Mr. Modi went. But let me just come to the gentleman,
the debate at hand,
the lawyer, yes, about this issue of Mr. Gandhi having 10 cases against him and the judge observing he's got 10 cases against him. These are cases, most of them filed by BJP people against Mr. Rahul Gandhi. And by the way, in those cases, he has not been convicted. As far as I know, as long as you have not been convicted, you're innocent till proven guilty. How can the judge? So how can the judge basically say he's got cases and that is bad? Now, if that is the standard to be followed, then what about the president of the Wrestling Federation of India, who has basically devastated the lives of young Indian women wrestlers and who's got so many cases against him, some of the most heinous cases against him? But there's nothing. Maybe the Gujarat High Court should take suo motu notice and bring him and convict him.
No, so let me expand the ambit. Let me expand the ambit. One second, Salman. One second, Salman. One second. I'll come back to you. I have time. I have time on the debate.
No, just 1 second.
We have another 14 minutes to go.
Please, 1 second. Please.
Okay, man. All right. Okay, go ahead.
As far as defamation is concerned, let me ask you: was there not a person named Narendra Modi who went out on election campaign day before he became prime minister and said that traders are more risk-taking than Indian soldiers? Did he not defame Indian soldiers then as a class? Should we not be talking about those things?
No, so you were well within your right to file a defamation case if you felt that it was defaming soldiers. But be that as it may, I think we're digressing. I want to come back. I want to come back to the present case and what the judge wrote in his judgment. And Swapnil Kothari, please weigh in on this. The judge says, and I quote, "In the present case, the following additional countervailing factors operate against the petitioner. Defamation is an offence of public character wherein the fundamental right to reputation and dignity is involved. The conviction of the petitioner involves the impairment of the cherished fundamental right to dignity and reputation of a large segment of the population. the public standing of the petitioner and the fact that any utterance of the petitioner attracts large-scale publicity gravely impairs and damages the reputation of the complainant and the identifiable class in question. I think that last part is absolutely important, because the court is basically saying that Mr. Gandhi, and I believe in 2019 when he made these comments, he was in a very senior position in the Congress party, unlike today. So for Mr. Gandhi to make those comments, and almost instantaneously those comments find mention in media channels, in newspapers, in digital websites, etc. Therefore, the complainant does not have a chance to defend his or her reputation. Is that a valid point that the court has opined? Swapnil?
No, absolutely, Zaka. There is no question about it. The words impairment, damaging the reputation, identifiable class are all very pregnant as far as the observations of the court is concerned and the reasoning behind this decision of upholding the conviction. When you say the word impairment, that means you're trying to say that the reputation is damaged, and obviously the person has got no chance to defend himself or herself against those kind of blanket remarks that have been made. And my first point, Zaka, before we go into this, is that the very fact that, I find it a little bit odd that, any party for that matter, whether it's Congress or anybody, when they don't find a judgment going their way, they tend to say that the institutions have been compromised or decimated, or their integrity has been damaged in some sort of way by Prime Minister Modi. I don't think that's a very fair comment to make, because I think we have one of the most independent judiciaries in this whole world. And let me tell you that I've practiced before several courts in the world. And let me tell you, this is one of the most independent judiciaries that we have. So to cast aspersions is absolutely out of place. Number two is, the identifiable class and the impairment part. As I pointed out, this is something which is not absolutely in good taste. This is defamatory. And let me tell you one thing, as far as any of the political points that are concerned that have been raised by my fellow panelists about demonetization, about bad policies, do not fall within the ambit. You can have ample evidence. You fight that in a court or in the case of in a parliament. Don't make statements against that person like that. And likewise, if there are statements which have been made, but no, one point, Zaka, if 10 cases have not been convicted, but they have not been quashed either. So the cases are still pending.
Okay. All right. I want to thank all our guests. I want to thank Nalin Kohli. I want to thank Salman Soz as well as Swapnil Kothari for joining us. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It was an engaging debate. Now, I want to go across to Senior Advocate, Member of Parliament and Chief Spokesperson of the Congress Party, legal luminary, Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who's, of course, been publicly talking about these cases against Mr. Gandhi and this conviction, the fact that first the Sessions Court and now the High Court has refused to stay the conviction. Dr. Singhvi, thank you very much for joining us. I was just discussing this in the debate earlier as well. The judge has opined in his order that one of the reasons for not staying the conviction of Mr. Gandhi is that he's taken into account that Rahul Gandhi faces another 10 criminal cases, including a criminal defamation case filed by the grandson of Veer Savarkar. The judge opines that this is needed to have purity in politics, and that it's a well-settled principle of law that stay of conviction is not a rule but an exception. Was Mr. Rahul Gandhi seeking unto himself an exception and not a rule?
Okay, Zaka, you asked a longish question. I hope I remember all the components of that. Let me start by saying that as far as you are concerned, you are invisible on my screen.
Sure.
So I hope I'm able to know that when you are hearing me or not.
I can hear you.
Now, as far as your point is concerned, there's a much larger issue in this judgment. But I'll come to that later. Let me answer your narrower points. Take, for example, Savarkar you mentioned. Did you know that Savarkar's complaint, or the complaint regarding the Savarkar issue, was filed 1 month after the present complaint had been decided finally in March? That was filed in April end. Did you also know that this is not part of the proceedings in the High Court at all? It was at the fag end on 2nd of May when the arguments were concluding that across the bar, a cutting was handed over, a method impermissible, no pleading, no nothing by the complainant. And today, astonishingly, when the judgment was pronounced at 10:30, ultimately the copy was given at 3 o'clock, the judge chose to mention this ground alone, which finds mention in para 63 of his judgment. which is not at all the subject matter of this complaint, which happened even as a complaint a month after the final conviction in this, and which was not argued. That's one answer. Two, because the learned judge, unfortunately, and I'm saying so again and again, it's a judgment riven with grievous errors, unsustainable errors. Because the learned judge is at pains to paint it as a very serious offense. If you see paras 43 and 45, you'll be astonished. In 45, the learned judge, perhaps unprecedentedly in the first time in the history of law in India, holds that a defamation offense of the maximum of 2 years is a moral turpitude offense. Moral turpitude is a term of art known to lawyers for centuries. It involves issues like rape, kidnapping, or other immoral offenses. It certainly has never been equated with defamation.
Okay.
Indeed, a 2-year maximum sentence offense can very rarely be called a moral turpitude offense. But that apart, where the learned judge gets that conclusion shows the direction and the trend from where the learned judge is coming, which is to paint it as very serious, because the previous paragraph uses the word serious 3 times, as if it's some kind of a rarest of rare murder offense. Then again, take the example which you said about this sentence, 1.5 sentences in a 3-page speech. The sentence names 3 persons by name, including Prime Minister Modi.
Yes.
The specific argument was twofold by our side, none of which is answered. None. The argument was that A, the term Modi is an undefined amorphous class. So there is no single community of Modis. There is no single subsect of Modis. There is no single group called Modi. Modi A and Modi B may be totally, racially, ethnically, origin-wise unrelated.
Okay.
So there is nothing which can be defamed, which is not a defined class, was the first argument. Not answered, not dealt with. Second argument, more important, not even addressed. If, assuming even that it's a defined or non-amorphous class, which it is not, if there are 3 named persons and each of those 3 choose not to sue, choose not to show any personal loss or damage, can any member of this amorphous undefined class of approximately 13 crore people have standing and locus to get up and file a criminal complaint?
No, so Dr. Singhvi, the judge has, the judge has, if I may, the judge has observed in his order, and I'm quoting from this judgment, in the present case, in order to gauge the seriousness of the offence, another factor which compounds the case against the petitioner is that the defamation alleged was that of a large identifiable class and not just an individual. Due to the said fact, the conviction partakes the character of an offence affecting a large section of the public. So the judge is saying that by using the name Modi, he is offending an entire large identifiable class, not just an individual.
Raka, actually the learned judge turns the test on its head. The legal test is exactly the opposite of what you read. You're absolutely right. This is a grievous error. 3 points here. 1, there is material filed by us and argued showing the word Modi is not a defined class. A Modi in Punjab and a Modi in Gujarat and a Modi in UP and a Modi in Rajasthan has no connection at all. It's an undefined class. Second, that's not addressed. The learned judge assumes it to be a defined class. Second, where has the learned judge shown by a single judgment that a single Modi across, and by the way, all the Modis who seem to be aggrieved in this case, very, very important, are BJP Modis, BJP office bearers. This great outrageous reaction of the community is limited always to BJP office bearers. That, by the way, answers your other point also. All the 9 other cases repeatedly mentioned to mischaracterize Rahul Gandhi as a serial offender are cases where he's an accused, not a single convict, but each one of them is filed by BJP office bearers.
Okay.
So you orchestrate an across the country filing by BJP office bearers. Why? To stultify, emasculate and strangulate free speech and free thought. In a political campaign between A and B, a person speaks fearlessly, even if wrongly. It can never be criminal defamation. It's only because a orchestrated BJP campaign across the country by BJP office bearers, that does not give them standing.
Okay.
Mr. Prime Minister Modi doesn't choose to sue. Nirav Modi doesn't choose to sue. Lalit Modi doesn't choose to sue. On what principle has the judge cited in the entire judgment you just said, does the person who has sued have standing? Only on the basis that an unconnected, undefined, amorphous community, Modi, any one out of 1,300 crore people, by the way, all of them being only BJP office bearers, can have standing to sue.
All right, Dr. Singhvi.
I mean, it's an amazing, ludicrous situation.
We'll have to leave it at that. I'm running out of time. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for putting that into perspective and your thoughts on what has happened today in the Gujarat High Court. Meanwhile, staying on that theme, the Congress now, and this is a piece of breaking news that we're getting in, the Congress has decided to observe a silent satyagraha, as they're calling it, on the 12th of July. This is in support of Rahul Gandhi across the country. This is going to be this coming Monday, this coming week, I believe, where it's going to be a silent satyagraha in support of Rahul Gandhi. Sharon has more details on this. Sharon.
The statement that has in fact come in from the General Secretary Organization, AICC, is that in spite of all the hardship, Rahul Gandhi has been consistent in being a dissent voice as far as against this government is concerned. And keeping that in mind, keeping the present circumstances in mind, it is high time that we all stand together with Rahul Gandhi. And for that, the Maun Satyagraha, the silent protest in front of Gandhi statue, is going to be organized from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on 12th July. And this is a message that has been sent to all the PCC presidents, the MLAs and MLCs, MPs also, to in fact make sure that they are in fact making sure that there are possible mobilization and involvement of all senior leaders for this Maun Satyagraha. So 12th July is the day that has in fact been selected by the Congress. Clearly they are not going to bow down, is what the message that the Congress party wants to send out at this time.
All right, Sharon, we'll leave it at that. Thanks very much for joining us. So 12th of July, the Congress plans to take out a silent protest at the Gandhi statue in Parliament. Let's shift focus now here on Brass Tacks. There is seemingly no end to the debate over the Uniform Civil Code, as the chorus now is growing on both sides. After Prime Minister Modi's emphatic pitch, now former Vice President of India, Venkaiah Naidu, has also come out in favour of this law. He has said that India needs a Uniform Civil Code for social harmony, as well as economic and gender justice. A showdown is expected in the upcoming session of Parliament, but more and more regional satraps are taking a stand against the law. After the Akali Dal, the AIDMK, the DMK, and even the NDA's very own partners in the northeast, Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan has now become the latest to take a stand against the rollout of the UCC, calling it a bid to trample on minority rights. He even accused the Congress party of failing. He accused the Congress party of failing to shed its ambivalence in this matter.
Any concept of imposing majoritarianism, it is against democracy. Majority rule is a democracy, but majoritarianism, not majority rule. So other opinions also should be respected. Now BJP is doing it, insisting it, because this is their urgent need. Next election, if they win, they have their life tonic is communal division. So because of the next Lok Sabha election, they are raising it, fanning it. Whether they do or not, I do not know. But campaign will go on to rouse the Hindus against Muslim.
ये समय नहीं है, अभी हमारा समाज उस मनस्थिति में नहीं पहुंचा है कि सारे देश के सारे नागरिक अपनी पारंपरिक प्रथाओं को और कानूनों को छोड़ के एक किसी कानून में बंध जाए। वही स्थिति यूसीसी की है, जिस पे गोलवलकर जी का भी हवाला देते हुए कपिल सिब्बल जी ने एक कार्यक्रम में टीवी का देख रहा था, उन्होंने कहा था कि स्वयं गोलवलकर जी में कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली में ये राय व्यक्त की थी कि यूसीसी नहीं होना चाहिए। हमारे देश में भिन्नता है, हमको उस भिन्नता को बरकरार रखना चाहिए और उस भिन्नता में सौहार्द निर्मित करना चाहिए।
But beyond the war of words, let's decode the facts and myths surrounding the Uniform Civil Code. One of the myths is that the UCC will impact how you pray, how you eat, or how you dress. The fact is that no law anywhere in the world can prescribe religious practices, food habits, or dress codes. There's also the myth that the UCC will adversely affect cultural diversity. The fact is that the UCC cannot regulate languages, festivals, customs, rituals that people undertake in different parts of the country. There's also a myth that the Hindu law on succession, on inheritance, on divorce, etc. will be imposed on other communities as well. The fact remains that the Constitution guards against any such imposition of one set of rules on all classes of citizens. There's also the myth that the UCC will dislodge religious practices associated with marriage, like nikah or the Sat Fere or church weddings. The fact is that these ceremonies can and will happen. The law will prescribe recognition of these ceremonies. There's also the myth that a secular country cannot have a uniform civil code. The fact is that most secular democracies, the United States, the United Kingdom, you name it, across the world, most Western democracies have a common civil code. But that notwithstanding, the All India Muslim Personal Law Board has taken a stand against the UCC and is circulating a link appealing to everybody who are its members to give their opinion, as the Law Commission is inviting the views of the public. The organization has openly called this a majoritarian bid to derail minority rights.
आप सब जानते हैं कि लॉ कमीशन ने यूसीसी के सिलसिले में सभी लोगों से राय मांगी है। तो इस सिलसिले में ऑल इंडिया मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ बोर्ड ने एक लिंक जारी करके सबसे अपील की है कि इस सिलसिले में अपनी राय बासानी भेजें। उसी को देखते हुए जो कि जुम्मा है, तो जुमे के मौके पर बड़ी तादाद में मुसलमान मस्जिदों में नमाज़ पढ़ने आते हैं। तो मस्जिदों के इमामों से अपील की है कि जुमे के खुतबे में लोगों से ये ज़रूर अपील करें कि पर्सनल लॉ बोर्ड की इस लिंक के ज़रिए से या उसके अलावा भी अपनी राय लॉ कमीशन तक यूसीसी के सिलसिले में ज़रूर पहुँचाएँ।
In fact, in a 100-page counter to the Uniform Civil Code, the All India Muslim Personal Law Board has argued that morality of the majority is not above the rights of the minority. This is the exact phrase that's been used by the AIMPLB. The Uniform Civil Code remains an enigma. The Constitution is not uniform as it gives special rights to different classes of citizens. Personal laws for minorities are prudent for national unity, and personal laws are directly linked to Muslim identity. The Uniform Civil Code will lead to a loss of the Muslim identity. Unity is preserved if personal laws are allowed to thrive. But all eyes are on the draft proposal that's come in from the Uttarakhand government. In fact, Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami held a meeting with both Union Home Minister Amit Shah, as well as, of course, he met with the Prime Minister. The BJP is banking on the Uttarakhand state draft as a launch pad for an all-India rollout of the Uniform Civil Code. CNN News 18 has accessed details of the UCC draft in Uttarakhand. Let's take you through some of the salient points. Now, if we look at the age for marriage for girls, it is to be increased to 21 years for all girls across sections of society from the current 18 years. On the registration of marriage, the draft suggests that making of the registration of marriages has to be mandatory. So even if you have a temple ceremony or a Gurdwara ceremony, you still have to get your marriage registered by the local authorities. On live-in couples, there will be no ban on live-in couples, but the provision to legalize it will be made. It will be mandatory for live-in couples to inform their parents and also to fill a declaration form. If a child is born, then he or she will not carry the illegitimate child tag and will get the name of the parents as well as all rights that a regular couple and a child thereof gets. On adoption, it says that there can be a provision on the basis of religion even in the process of adoption. The proposed UCC draft mentions discontinuing the practice of halala and iddat, terms that are commonly used while settling marriage disputes among the Muslim community. Meanwhile, the UCC also bans the practice of polygamy, the custom of having more than one wife, a feature that is allowed only for Muslim marriages. On divorce, the draft calls for equal rights irrespective of faith. Now, the BJP is hoping that this draft will be a game changer for their pro-UCC agenda and arm the party for the showdown that's ahead in 2024. CNN News 18 also spoke to the head of the parliamentary panel on law and justice, who heard this UCC matter just earlier this week, BJP MP Sushil Kumar Modi.
July 4th, you chaired the meeting of UCC, and there you raised the question of the feasibility of UCC in tribal areas, including Northeast. So could you please elaborate on that?
नहीं, देखिए, पार्लियामेंट्री स्टैंडिंग कमेटी के किसी विषय पर सार्वजनिक चर्चा नहीं की जा सकती है। तो इसलिए उसका जो प्रोटोकॉल है उस प्रोटोकॉल के अंदर पार्लियामेंट्री स्टैंडिंग कमेटी में क्या हुआ वो गोपनीय होता है और उस पर कोई भी मीडिया के साथ कोई भी चर्चा नहीं हो सकती।
Congress leader Manish Tiwari has said that Uniform Civil Code is actually a common civil code and it is antithetical to the Indian Constitution.
नहीं, देखिए मनीष तिवारी क्या बोलते हैं वो एक अलग बात। अभी तो कांग्रेस ने इस पर कोई स्टैंड ही नहीं लिया है। कांग्रेस ने ये कहा कि पहले वो ड्राफ्ट आने दीजिए तब उसके बाद उस पर विचार करेंगे। तो मुझे लगता है कि लोगों को गलतफहमी, बहुत तरह की गलतफहमी है, तो वो गलतफहमी दूर हो जाएगी जब ड्राफ्ट सामने आएगा। तो इसलिए लोग भ्रम पैदा न करें। जैसे मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ बोर्ड ने जिस प्रकार का बयान दिया है, प्रस्ताव दिया है, तो इसलिए मुझे लगता है कि जल्दबाजी में किसी को रिएक्ट नहीं करना चाहिए। लोगों को जो अपना सुझाव देना है वो दे लॉ कमीशन को। लॉ कमीशन की रिपोर्ट आने के बाद उनका कोई ड्राफ्ट आता है तब उस पर रिएक्ट करें तो ये ज़्यादा बेहतर होगा।
सर खालिद रशीद जो महली हैं वो मुस्लिम लॉ बोर्ड के चेयरमैन मेंबर भी हैं। ही हैज़ स्ट्रांगली अपोज्ड यूसीसी। कैसे आप आज भी बरेली में एक ऑल इंडिया मुस्लिम जमात के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष मौलाना शहाबुद्दीन रजवी बरेलवी ने कहा है कि पहले खुतबा जो दे उसमें यूसीसी की खराबियां बताएं और ये भी बताएं कि हुकूमत किस तरह की शरीयत पर हमला बोल रही है और हमें कानून के दायरे में रहकर इसका विरोध करना है। ये बरेली में आज बोला है।
क्या बोला मुझे नहीं मालूम, कौन है, मैं भी उनको जानता भी नहीं हूँ। लेकिन दुनिया के अधिकांश देशों के अंदर एक ही सिविल लॉ है। अगर कोई भारत का मुसलमान अगर जाता है अमेरिका में, यूके में, यूरोप में, तो वहाँ क्या मुस्लिम सिविल लॉ अलग है और अमेरिकन के बाकी क्रिश्चियंस के लॉ अलग हैं क्या? तो अगर अमेरिका में जाकर आपको कोई दिक्कत है तो भारत में क्यों दिक्कत हो रही है? और ख़ास करके वैसे कानून जो डिस्क्रिमिनेट करते महिलाओं के प्रति, एक शादी होगी कि एक से ज़्यादा शादी होगी, तलाक के बाद मेंटेनेंस होगा कि नहीं होगा, तो ये तो ऐसी चीज़ें कि स्त्री पुरुष दोनों को समान अधिकार मिलना चाहिए। यहाँ तक कि हिंदुओं के अंदर भी बहुत सारे ऐसे कानून हैं जो महिलाओं के प्रति विभेद पैदा करते हैं, डिस्क्रिमिनेट करते हैं। तो चाहे हिंदू के कानून हो या मुसलमान के कानून हो, वैसे कानून जो जेंडर डिस्क्रिमिनेट करते हैं, तो जेंडर इक्वलिटी होनी चाहिए। ये तो संविधान का निर्देश है, नीति निर्देशक सिद्धांत में है। तो इसलिए कौन मुल्ला मौलवी क्या बोलता है उससे कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता है और लोगों को इंतज़ार करना चाहिए। और मैं मुस्लिम समाज से भी यही कहूँगा कि इंतज़ार करें और जब दुनिया के बाकी देशों में आ सकता है, यहाँ तक कि पाकिस्तान के अंदर 4 शादी पर रोक है, वहाँ पर एक व्यक्ति 4 शादी नहीं कर सकता। तो अगर वहाँ 3 तलाक पर रोक है, 4 शादी पर रोक है पाकिस्तान में, तो यहाँ अगर कोई ऐसा कानून बनता है तो धर्म के आधार पर किसी को विरोध करने का कोई अधिकार नहीं है।
सर उत्तराखंड के सीएम पुष्कर धामी मिले थे होम मिनिस्टर अमित शाह से और उन्होंने कहा कि जो उत्तराखंड का यूसीसी है दैट विल बी अ टेम्पलेट फॉर द यूसीसी ऑफ द कंट्री।
नहीं, मुझे पता नहीं उन्होंने क्या कहा, इंतजार कीजिए आने का।
And finally, best-selling author Nir Ayal, the author of Hooked, How to Build Habit-Forming Products, was one of the key speakers of the Money Control Startup Conclave, a summit with the most celebrated entrepreneurs and visionaries of the Indian and global startup ecosystem. The author, known best for his lectures on retaining focus, gave science-based insights on how to build healthy habits, improve productivity and focus, as well as manage distractions. We leave you with this. Thank you very much for watching Brass.
How do we understand this problem of distraction? It starts by knowing and acknowledging that distraction is not a new problem. That in fact we know that for at least the past 2,500 years, people have been complaining about this problem of distraction. So we should take some comfort knowing that if people have been complaining about this problem for at least the past 2,500 years, the source of the problem can't be our technologies, which are much younger than this problem which was originally complained about over 2,500 years ago. So how do we reconceptualize this problem of distraction? How can we think about it differently? So this is very interesting because I would argue that we need to stop moralizing and medicalizing what most people think is distraction, right? Most people think, oh, Instagram is a distraction, email is a distraction, video games are a distraction, all these things are distractions. There's nothing wrong with any of those things, as long as you use them on your schedule, not someone else's. Conversely, just because something is a work-related task doesn't mean it's not a distraction. Let me give you an example. For years, I would get to work, I would sit down at my desk, I'd say to myself, okay, I've got that big project I need to work on right now. I'm not going to get distracted. Nothing's going to get in my way. Here I go. I'm going to get started right now. But first, let me check some email. Has that ever happened to any of us? Right? Right? I have got that big project I've got to work on, but let me just check that Slack channel real quick. Let me see what's going on in the company news. Let me just check my email. That's a work-related task. I have to do it at some point in my day, don't I? That's okay. No. That is the most dangerous form of distraction, the distraction that tricks you into prioritizing the urgent and the easy work at the expense of the hard and important work you have to do to move your life and career forward. So just because it's just because it is a work-related task doesn't mean it's not a distraction. That is the most dangerous kind of distraction because you don't even realize that you're off track. So now that we know the difference between traction and distraction, let's talk about triggers. There are two kinds of triggers. The first one is called external triggers. External triggers, these are the things that you'll be very familiar with. These are the pings, the dings, the rings, anything in our outside environment that can lead us to traction or distraction. But believe it or not, these external triggers only account for 10% of your distractions. Studies find that all these notifications and the pings and the dings and the rings only account for 10% of your distractions. So what's the other 90%? Where does the other 90% come from? 90% of the time that we get distracted, it's not because of something outside of us, but rather it is because of a distraction that begins inside our own heads. These are called internal triggers, and it's where we have to start on our journey to becoming indistractable. What are internal triggers? Internal triggers are uncomfortable emotional states that we seek to escape. Boredom, loneliness, fatigue, uncertainty, anxiety, stress. These are things that we don't like to feel, and the solution to that discomfort is found with some kind of distraction. Oftentimes, these distractions we keep with us in our pockets. So if we are to become indistractable, the very first step must be to understand what is the source of that feeling. What is the true cause of that distraction so that we can do something about it? Because let me tell you, I don't care if it's too much news, too much booze, too much Facebook, too much football. You are always going to find a distraction somewhere unless you understand the root cause of the problem. And the root cause of the problem, 90% of the time, is nothing more than a feeling. It's an uncomfortable emotional state. So what do we do? How do we tackle these internal triggers? How do we master them so they don't become our master? Well, there's really only two things we can do. We can either fix the source of the problem, the thing that is causing us that discomfort, whether it's a difficult workplace environment, a home life situation that needs repair, whatever it is that we can do to fix the problem. Or our only other choice is to learn how to cope with that discomfort. How do we do that? We begin by acknowledging that time management is pain management. Let me say that again. Time management is pain management. I would add to that, weight management is pain management. Money management is pain management. Why? Why do I say that? Because all human behavior is driven by one thing and one thing only. All human behavior. We used to believe, right, many of us are managers here, we're about motivating people. We used to believe that motivation was about carrots and sticks, right? That people pursue pleasure and avoid pain. We now know that is not true. We now know that neurologically speaking, everything you do for one reason and one reason only, and that is the desire to escape discomfort. Everything we do, even, if you think about it, the pursuit of pleasurable sensations, wanting to feel good, craving, desire, lusting, these things are psychologically destabilizing. So if everything we do is about the desire to escape discomfort, therefore time management must be pain management. We have to learn how to deal with that discomfort in a healthy way that leads us towards traction rather than trying to escape it with distraction. Okay, that's the theoretical, psychological part of the presentation. How do we actually do this, right? Give us some techniques. Okay, I'm going to give you some techniques that you can use right now, starting with when you feel that discomfort, when you feel that itch to check your phone when you're with your family, or do some triviality like email when you really should be working on those sales calls, or whatever it is that you're trying to avoid, the first thing that you can do is to simply note the sensation. writing down what is that sensation. I'm feeling stressed, anxious, lonely, bored, whatever that sensation might be. Simply writing it down is a fantastic first step. Then what we want to do is to get curious rather than contemptuous. Curious rather than contemptuous. You see, most people, when they experience some kind of negative feeling, they try and tell themselves not to feel that way. That if I was a real entrepreneur, I wouldn't feel this way, right? Real entrepreneurs don't get stressed. Wrong. Wrong. What we find is that people who are at the top of their game in every industry, business, the arts, sports, they all feel the same internal triggers the rest of us do. The difference is that high performers, when they feel those internal triggers, they use it as rocket fuel to propel them towards traction, rather than what distractible people do, which is try and escape it with distraction. So if you can simply bring curiosity to that sensation, why am I experiencing this, and change that narrative so that it serves you rather than you serving it. The last thing that we can do, and this is one of many, many techniques, is to surf the urge. Surfing the urge acknowledges that our sensation, that these internal triggers, they crest and then they subside. But that's not how we feel in the moment. You ever feel angry or lonely or bored or stressed, and in the moment it feels like you're always going to feel that way. But of course that's never the case. These emotions are transitory.
Oh, Sage, they have the worst land possible. But they outsmarted everybody. The land had oil on it. Black gold. Money flows freely here now.
I do love that money, sir.
The first full trailer is out for Martin Scorsese's highly anticipated Killers of the Flower Moon, based on the true story of Native Americans who became rich overnight, and the white interlopers who would do anything, even kill, to take that wealth. Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, and Lily Gladstone star in the Western crime drama, coming to theaters October 6th. The ongoing Writers Guild dispute with studios and streamers is taking its toll. Film LA, which coordinates filming permits in Los Angeles County, says normally there would be dozens of scripted TV projects in production this time of year, but this week, no scripted series have permits to film. And the overall weekly permit count for feature films and TV is down 64% from a year ago. The WGA strike is in its 10th week.
Ajit Pawar says it that Sharad Pawar has always been wanting to go with the BJP, and discussions have been held for a very long time.
Sharad Pawar keeps everybody guessing about his real motives and intentions. Why is this brazen violation, 13,200 people missing, nothing's been asked, enforced disappearance?
But who's got the guts? कि बिल्ली के गले में घंटी कौन बांधेगा?
Woman happens to be a Muslim, she gets 1/8 property. A Christian gets 1/4 property, and a Hindu gets half property. That's also unequal. That's also violative of fundamental rights.
भारत ट्रेन को हरी झंडी दिखाऊंगा और उसी समय जोधपुर से अहमदाबाद के बीच चलने वाली वंदे भारत एक्सप्रेस को भी रवाना किया जाएगा। वंदे भारत ट्रेन ने देश के मध्यम वर्ग को सुविधाओं और सहूलियतों के लिए एक नई उड़ान दी है। एक समय था जब नेता लोग चिट्ठियां लिखा करते थे कि हमारे क्षेत्र में इस ट्रेन का एक जरा हॉल्ट बना लें, उस ट्रेन का हॉल्ट बना लें। आज देश के कोने कोने से नेता मुझे चिट्ठियां लिखकर कहते हैं कि हमारे क्षेत्र से भी वंदे भारत चलाइए। ये वंदे भारत का एक क्रेज है। इन सारे आयोजनों के लिए मैं गोरखपुर के लोगों को, देश के लोगों को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। साथियों, गीता प्रेस विश्व का ऐसा इकलौता प्रिंटिंग प्रेस है जो सिर्फ एक संस्था नहीं है, बल्कि एक जीवंत आस्था है। गीता प्रेस का कार्यालय करोड़ों करोड़ लोगों के लिए किसी भी मंदिर से जरा भी कम नहीं है। इसके नाम में भी गीता है और इसके काम में भी गीता है। और जहां गीता है वहां साक्षात कृष्ण है, और जहां कृष्ण है वहां करुणा भी है, कर्म भी है। वहां ज्ञान का बोध भी है और विज्ञान का शोध भी है। क्योंकि गीता का वाक्य है वासुदेवः सर्वम, वासुदेवः सर्वम। सब कुछ वासुदेवमय है, सब कुछ वासुदेव से ही है, सब कुछ वासुदेव में ही है। भाई और बहनों, 1923 में गीता प्रेस के रूप में यहां जो आध्यात्मिक ज्योति प्रज्वलित हुई, आज उसका प्रकाश पूरी मानवता का मार्गदर्शन कर रहा है। हमारा सौभाग्य है कि हम सभी इस मानवीय मिशन की शताब्दी के साक्षी बन रहे हैं। इस ऐतिहासिक अवसर पर ही हमारी सरकार ने गीता प्रेस को गांधी शांति पुरस्कार भी दिया है। गांधी जी का गीता प्रेस से भावनात्मक जुड़ाव था। एक समय में गांधी जी कल्याण पत्रिका के माध्यम से गीता प्रेस के लिए लिखा करते थे, और मुझे बताया गया कि गांधी जी ने ही सुझाव दिया था कि कल्याण पत्रिका में विज्ञापन न छापे जाए। कल्याण पत्रिका आज भी गांधी जी के उस सुझाव का 100% अनुसरण कर रही है। मुझे खुशी है कि आज ये पुरस्कार गीता प्रेस को मिला है। ये देश की ओर से गीता प्रेस का सम्मान है, इसके योगदान का सम्मान है, और इसकी 100 वर्षों की विरासत का सम्मान है। इन 100 वर्षों में गीता प्रेस द्वारा करोड़ों करोड़ों किताबें प्रकाशित हो चुकी है। आंकड़ा कभी कोई 70 बताता है, कोई 80 बताता है, कोई 90 करोड़ बताता है। ये संख्या किसी को भी हैरान कर सकती है। और ये पुस्तकें लागत से भी कम मूल्य पर बिकती हैं, घर घर पहुंचाई जाती है। आप कल्पना कर सकते हैं इस विद्या प्रवाह ने कितने ही लोगों को आध्यात्मिक बौद्धिक तृप्ति दी होगी। श्री हरि वसुदेव सुतम देवम कंस चाणूरमर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे जगद्गुरु। उत्तर प्रदेश के राज्यपाल आनंदीबेन पटेल, मुख्यमंत्री श्रीमान योगी आदित्यनाथ जी, गीता प्रेस के श्री केशवराम अग्रवाल जी, श्री विष्णु प्रसाद जी, सांसद भाई रवि किशन जी,
हेलो नमस्कार।
Namaskar, this is First Post Today. Watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma.